Welcome to the ScreenCrush Break Room. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in The Bad Batch Episode 1.
The first episode is titled Aftermath because it shows us the immediate aftermath of the Jedi Purge and Palpatine declaring, "The first Galactic Empire!" This is indicated by the title sequence. In the last few episodes of the Clone Wars, which tied directly to Revenge of the Sith, the Clone Wars title went from yellow to red, to reflect the rise of the Sith. We see here that Clone Wars is still in red, but the title burns away to reveal our new heroes, the Bad Batch. And the VO is back!
Republic forces continue to mount victories.
I very much miss the VO in shows like Rebels.
Clone troopers unite!
I like how the pertinent events of Revenge of the Sith were reimagined as animation. Just like the final episodes of Clone Wars, this first episode is woven into the fabric of Revenge of the Sith. For instance, we see Master Deepa Billaba and her Padawan Caleb Dune here in Final Clone Wars arc. And of course, we see them here in the flesh. Caleb will grow up to be Kanan Jarrus, the Jedi who trains Ezra Bridger on Star Wars Rebels. Both adult Kanan and young Caleb are voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr.
Do or do not. There is no try. Here. I'm here.
I guess this kid hit puberty early because he already sounds like a grown man.
Trust me.
But here's the thing. We've already seen these events in the Star Wars Kanan comic book. And in the book, the events play out just a little bit different, although they do take place on the same planet, Kalar. And they both get Bilaba's last words correct. Run, Caleb! Because this is what Kanan told the Sith Inquisitor in Rebels.
Tell me, Jedi, what was her last word to you?
Run.
Kanan also told Ezra about these events in The Last Commanders.
The clones, the ones we Jedi fought side by side with, suddenly turned and betrayed us.
Those clones served alongside General Billaba for years.
Deepa Billaba has also been around for a while. We first saw her serving on the Jedi Council in Phantom Menace. And then we get our introduction to Clone Force 99. Now, they were actually named after the irregular Clone 99.
How can I be a failure when I never even got my chance?
Who sacrificed his life to save Kamino from the Separatists.
I'm a soldier, like you!
What you say?
It gets me every time. It's just fun being back in the Clone Wars world, even hearing their slang for droids.
Hey, Clanker!
Clankers! Hey, Clanker!
Turn those clankers into scrap metal!
In case you're not familiar with the Clone Wars series, the clones turn on the Jedi because of a secret control chip in their brains. In one arc of the show, a clone trooper's chip malfunctions and is set off early. He explains himself by saying,
Good soldiers follow orders.
The same phrase that Crosshair repeats in this episode.
Good soldiers follow orders.
Something bothers me about the Bad Batch. Why does Hunter have this luscious, full head of hair, but Tech is showing signs of male pattern baldness? Someone should really tell Tech that the best way to prevent hair loss is to start when you still have hair left. That's why I use Keeps, the sponsor of this week's video. There's actually a history of hair loss in my family, so when my hair started to thin, I didn't waste any time. So believe me, if your hair's starting to thin, you don't want to wait. Start using Keeps now, don't put it off. Start early and stick with it. Treatments can take up to 4 to 6 months or more to see results, so you have to act fast. The sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you'll save. Just think, if Rex would have started the treatment, then he would have looked more like Wolf instead of this. Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and hundreds of thousands of men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication. So if you're losing your hair, do something about it. For a limited time, go to keeps.com/ScreenCrush, click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. Back to the Easter eggs.
They land on Kamino, the birthplace of the clone army, that we first saw in Attack of the Clones. As Deepa Bilaba's body is carried away, we hear the beginning of the Binary Sunset theme, but it is abruptly cut off. Symbolically, this is telling us that the time of the Jedi has been cut short. The two Kaminoans in charge are Lama Su, the Prime Minister who also appeared in numerous Clone Wars episodes, and Nala Se, who helped cover up the existence of the control chip in Season 6.
Give me that.
You can't be trusted.
And these two definitely have a secret.
Until the Empire's intentions are made clear.
I've got a pretty banging theory about that I'll go into later in the video. They mentioned Skako Minor, the planet where the Bad Batch rescued Echo in Clone Wars Season 7. Hunter says,
Shock troopers? What's the Coruscant Guard doing here?
Now these particular troops were all over the Clone Wars series, and Yoda killed a bunch of them in Revenge of the Sith. We hear,
You are more machine than man.
A nod to this.
He's more machine now than man.
we hear a long portion of Palpatine's speech from Revenge of the Sith.
And the Jedi Rebellion has been foiled.
And Ian McDiarmid is voicing the character that he made famous, once again taking over for Tim Curry, who voiced Palpatine for much of the original Clone Wars run.
Each day, we grow closer and closer to victory.
Now notice that the Imperial March starts to boom as soon as he says,
Nothing.
Galactic Empire!
Galactic Empire?
and then we meet Omega, named after the final letter of the Greek alphabet. This implies that she is the final clone of Jango Fett and the culmination of what the cloners are trying to achieve. She wears the same medallion on her forehead as the Kaminoans, probably marking her as someone who works directly with the cloners. And then we get the arrival of Moff Wilhuff Tarkin. He's aiming to cut the Clone Wars program to free up some cash. Why? Because Death Stars cost a lot of money, and this conversation made me laugh.
The skill level and efficiency of our clones is far superior to that of any recruited body.
Because, after all, stormtroopers couldn't hit the broadside of a bantha. Tarkin also appeared throughout the Clone Wars series, and Echo was even captured on a mission to rescue him from the Citadel.
Echo, look out!
What you say?
Love this moment.
What the?
The droid is called AZ-13. We've actually seen him on Kamino before, most notably in the Clone Conspiracy arc back in Season 6.
Nothing.
What?
The sample doesn't match anything found in the Jango Fett genotype.
Notice he has eyes like a protocol droid, and the markings on his head match the Kaminoan symbol worn by clones and Dr. Pershing and the Mandalorian. Later, we'll see a medical droid, GH7, that we first saw in Revenge of the Sith.
We don't know why. She has lost the will to live.
Tarkin observes the clones in the same training area that we saw in the episode Clone Cadets. But instead of fighting against repurposed battle droids, they're fighting early models of the Dark Trooper suits. These first debuted in the video game Dark Forces, and Luke Skywalker went through them like a hot knife through butter in the finale of Mandalorian Season 2. Before the exercise, they name drop
What we did on Pelusha.
the planet where Aayla Secura was killed in Revenge of the Sith. Tarkin knows that the Padawan escaped.
A counter-report filed by one of their own says the Padawan escaped.
What's interesting is that he'll actually meet that Padawan about 15 years in the future and then supervises his torture.
Yes, he does possess the will of a Jedi of old.
He sends the Bad Batch to Onderon, a very important planet in the Clone Wars series. It's the home planet of Lux Bonteri, Ahsoka Tano's crush. But it's also the planet where she trains Saw Guerrea, who's in this episode. In that arc, Guerrera's sister was killed, which helped to radicalize him.
But Saw Guerrea is an extremist. He's been fighting on his own since he broke with the rebellion.
The episode shows us how that loss will motivate him for decades to come.
If we give up now, everything we fought for, everyone we lost, will have been for nothing.
In later years, his methods became too extreme for the rebellion, and he appears in Star Wars Rebels.
I know some people in this rebellion don't want to admit it, but we are in a war, and war is lost.
And is killed in Rogue One.
We're lost, wide open.
One of the cool things about this show is that we're going to see the very beginnings of the rebellion.
The Clone War may have ended, but a civil war is about to begin.
I also hope we get to see Mon Mothma and Bail Organa building a network of dissatisfied senators that form the backbone of the rebellion. There was actually a couple scenes like this in Revenge of the Sith, but they were cut for time and because they're pretty boring. It's just people talking on a couch.
Suggesting I apologize. I don't mean to sound like a separatist.
This line,
"Strike us down like you did the Jedi,"
is a callback to this.
If you strike me down, strike me down with all of your hatred.
Also, notice that Saw's Republic fighter armor is very similar to Stormtrooper armor, especially the way it latches over the shoulders. This makes sense because Stormtroopers are human recruits and would be armored by the same companies that supplied the human fighters in the Clone Wars. Among the former Republic fighters is a Twi'lek who have appeared in many Star Wars since Return of the Jedi.
We're lost, wide open.
And this partisan fighter appears in The Mandalorian. This is your mom. Hunter terminates an Imperial probe droid like we first saw in Empire Strikes Back. When they escape, they use the stun setting, a show of mercy for their clone brothers, and we first saw this used in A New Hope. During Crosshair's procedure, the Arabesh letters here read Anomaly. This device is very similar to the one that Ahsoka used to remove Rex's chip in the final arc of the Clone Wars. So, here's what I'm thinking for Omega. The cloners clearly have a special purpose for her that Tarkin is not privy to.
Remaining clones of Squad 99 have escaped, along with Omega.
Until the Empire's intentions are made clear, say nothing.
This doesn't necessarily mean that she is a tool against the Empire. In the book Servants of the Empire, Secret Academy, Brendel Hux supervises a secret training program for the Emperor, which is kept secret from Tarkin. So Omega could simply be a special commission from Palpatine himself, under the guise of Darth Sidious.
A state of heightened awareness is not unusual for an enhanced clone such as herself.
Notice, though, that she's intuitive.
You're angry.
Appears to be telepathic.
I know. It's not your fault. You can't help it.
And is an expert shot, almost like she could see things before they happen.
I know what you're going to do, but please don't.
All of this is adding up to Omega being a Force-sensitive clone. The Rise of Skywalker novelization details the trouble that Palpatine had cloning himself a new body that was capable of being Force-sensitive. Basically, clones have no midi-chlorians, and you can't be Force-sensitive without midi-chlorians.
They continually speak to us, telling us the will of the Force.
Rey's dad was a non-Force sensitive clone, then his Palpatine DNA meshed with his wife's midichlorians and you get Rey. This is also probably why the Empire is after Grogu and the Mandalorian, to extract his midichlorians and clone Palpatine. We even see what's probably a clone of Palpatine here in the Imperial stronghold. So Omega could be the first successful attempt to create a Force-sensitive clone. This is Palpatine's contingency to cheat death and live forever. Therefore, the Empire will be chasing the Bad Batch across the galaxy, not because they're renegades, but because she is the key to Palpatine's immortality. Well, that's all the Easter eggs that I found, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.